This happened about 4 years ago, when I was a second-year polytechnic student in Singapore. I lived in a small flat in Yishun with my aunt, and most nights, I'd stay out late to study, mainly because our home was crowded and noisy. My go-to spot was a 24-hour food court across from the bus interchange. It was semi-open air, had decent lighting, and enough tables to sit without feeling watched. It always felt safe. Singapore usually does. This night, I arrived around 11:30 p.m., bought a tapeng, and picked my usual table tucked near the corner. There were about 6 or 7 people scattered around, a group of uncles playing chess, a couple of food delivery guys eating supper, and a woman staring at her phone across the aisle. I opened my laptop, put in my earphones, and zoned out. By 1:45 a.m., most people had cleared out. The chess uncles were gone. The delivery riders had finished eating. It was just me, the cleaner, and one other person, a man sitting about 3 tables away. I didn't notice him at first. But at one point, when I looked up to stretch my neck, I saw he was staring directly at me. He wasn't even pretending not to. I thought, okay, weird, maybe he's just spaced out. So I ignored him. But 10 minutes later, when I glanced up again, he was closer. Now only 1 table away. Still staring. No food. No drink. Just a cup of ice that had melted into water. He wasn't doing anything else. No phone. No book. Just watching. I froze. Then I remembered the advice my cousin once gave me, never let someone know they're getting to you. So I kept calm, packed my laptop slowly, stood up, and walked away, not running, just walking steady. As I left the table, I heard his chair scrape behind me. I didn't dare look back. I crossed the pedestrian path, heading toward the taxi stand next to the MRT. The streets were quiet. A few lights still on in the convenience store nearby, but no people. No noise. When I reached the curb, I finally turned. He was standing at the entrance of the food court. Still watching. In his hand was something folded. At first, I thought it was a newspaper. But then, he lifted it to his mouth like a phone. And started pretending to talk into it. Only, it wasn't a phone. It was just a folded piece of paper. No light. No screen. No sound. He was pretending. Acting. In his face, his expression didn't change. He kept smiling as he spoke. I stood at the taxi stand. My hands were sweating. I tried to call Grab, but my app was freezing up. He began walking toward me. Slowly. Like he knew I couldn't go anywhere. No one else was around. The shop shutters were down. The road was empty. That's when I heard an engine behind me. A taxi. A blue Comfort Delgro cab turned the corner. I waved frantically. The cab slowed. The driver opened the door. I jumped in and slammed it shut. "Please drive," I said. "Now." He looked confused, but he drove. We passed the man as we turned. He had stopped right at the sidewalk. Still smiling. Still holding that paper to his face. He didn't try to chase us. He just stood there, staring into the windshield, like he'd memorized my face. I told the driver what happened, and he nodded slowly, said something like, "Next time, don't sit out so late alone. Some people, they're not right." He dropped me 2 blocks from my house, just to be safe. I walked the rest. I didn't go back to that food court for months. And even now, years later, when I pass it during the day, I sometimes glance inside. And every once in a while, I swear I see someone at the back table. Just sitting. Smiling. This happened when I was 24 and working the night shift at a call center near Clark Quay. Most nights, I finished work around midnight. By then, the MRT was nearly empty. I'd take the Purple Line home, get off at Bangkok, and walk the rest of the way. Routine. Boring. Predictable. One Friday night, I was more tired than usual. It had been a rough shift, angry customers, system errors, and a supervisor breathing down my neck. I got on the train around 12:20 a.m. at Clark Quay. The cabin was nearly empty, just two people across from me, a sleeping guy in a hoodie, and another man sitting closer to the far end. What made me notice him were his hands. He was holding a plastic bag, the thin, crinkly kind you get from small provision shops. Inside, I could see something long and cylindrical wrapped in newspaper. At first, I thought it was just a bottle of soy sauce or a cooking item. But then I realized, he hadn't stopped staring at me since I got on. His face was calm. Still. No expression. And when the train stopped at Chinatown, he didn't move. Then at Outram Park, still nothing. People got on and off. He stayed. That's when I tested it. I stood up and switched cabins through the connecting door. 5 minutes later, I turned my head and saw him walking into the same new cabin. Same plastic bag. Same eyes. Now I was nervous. I texted a friend. Some guy is following me on the train. I'm getting off early. I waited until Padang Pasir, stood up quickly, and exited the train just as the doors chimed. I walked fast, not running, toward the escalator. I didn't turn around. I just listened. Footsteps. Behind me. Light and careful. I made it up the escalator, and that's when I turned back. He was halfway up, holding the bag like a delivery. He smiled. The first and only time he did. And then he whispered something. Except I couldn't hear it. But he mouthed the words slowly, like he wanted me to read them. I ran. Straight up to the street level. There was a Capitium nearby, still open. I ducked inside and sat in the back. I waited. 15 minutes passed. I didn't see him. Then I looked toward the hawker stall glass, and I swear, reflected behind me in the glass was that same plastic bag. Just sitting on the table outside. No man. Just the bag. I didn't touch it. I left. Took a grab the rest of the way home. I didn't ride the train for a while after that. But a week later, my friend who worked in Dhoby Ghaut MRT sent me a photo. It was a CCTV still of a man holding a plastic bag on the platform around 12:30 a.m. You know this guy? She asked. He's been showing up a lot recently. Always watching people but never boarding. I looked closer. Same face. Same calm stare. And even in the grainy image, I could see the shape of what was inside the bag. It wasn't a bottle. It wasn't soy sauce. It looked like a knife, wrapped in newspaper. Long, thick, and sharp. I used to live alone in a one-bedroom unit in Badak North. It was one of those older HDB blocks, about 12 floors high, with the kind of corridors that echo at night. I had moved in after a breakup, needed space, needed quiet. And for the most part, I got that. Except from the flat directly above mine. Whoever lived there didn't sleep. I'd often hear the sound of furniture scraping across the floor at 2 or 3 in the morning. Not every night, but often enough to notice. Sometimes it was footsteps pacing, sometimes soft thuds, like something heavy dropping and being dragged. I figured it was just a restless tenant. Until one night, I came home from work and found a small piece of paper slipped under my door. It wasn't typed. It wasn't mailed. Just a scrap torn from a notebook, with 2 words written in pencil. I see you. I thought maybe it was a prank. I crumpled it, tossed it, forgot about it. A few days later, it happened again. Same type of paper. This time it said, "Nice blue shirt yesterday." Which was weird, because I had worn blue on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, I didn't leave the flat except to get mail, just for a few seconds. So now I was paranoid. I checked my windows. All closed. I looked for hidden cameras. Nothing. That's when I started noticing something else. Every time I flushed the toilet or turned on the sink late at night, I would hear someone flush immediately afterward from upstairs. Every time. As if they were listening. And mimicking. One Friday night, I decided to test something. I turned on my bathroom light at 2:15 a.m. and stood in the middle of the living room for 5 minutes, saying nothing. Then, from above me, I heard footsteps. Pacing. Then stopping. Then pacing again. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, there was a new note under my door. "Why don't you wave back?" I hadn't looked up at the block above mine in weeks. I never opened my curtains. I kept my lights dim. So how? I went outside and looked up toward the balcony above me. And that's when I noticed it. A thin rope had been tied to the railing, stretching downward, ending just above my own kitchen window. Tied to the end of the rope was a small mirror, angled down. They had been watching me through the reflection. That night, I packed a bag and stayed at a friend's house. I filed a police report the next day. They sent someone to investigate the unit above mine. Turns out, it had been empty for almost 8 months. The tenant moved out in January. The landlord had left it unlocked once for renovation, but nothing had been done. They found scratch marks inside. On the floor. On the walls. And dozens of small pieces of paper in the kitchen, just like the ones that were slid under my door. Some had drawings. Some had dates and times. One just said, "Don't tell."